Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Craig Pera, and you are listening to Sex Afflictions and Porn Addictions, a podcast to help you create healthy sexuality in your life and a great life. Today, we are going to be talking about betrayal trauma. I talk a lot about the perspective from the man, and as our clients are typically men. And today we're going to be talking about the men, but through the lens of the partner who's been lied to. And I have a very, very special guest. She is responsible. She runs our partner empowerment group, and we are so glad to have her. Let me tell you a little bit about Sandy, because we haven't done a podcast in a while, and I want everyone here to listen and pay attention and know that you're talking to somebody or listening to someone who knows what they're talking about. She holds a master's degree in counseling psychology. She's been in private practice in Canada for over 20 years, a registered psychotherapist, a certified clinical traumatologist, and a qualified clinical counseling supervisor, and that's with a capital Q. And she's a certified coach in the mindful habits system. Guys, welcome. Sandy, so glad you're here.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. It's an honor.
You know, and one of the important pieces of people who work with us, you know, we're open about our struggles, and I just want everyone to know that Sandy is an ex-partner of someone with a porn addiction and sex addiction. Mm-hmm. She's lived through it. So we're going to talk about betrayal trauma today. And so for you guys who are listening, I want you to pay attention. I want you, when you're acting out, when you're lying, when you're not integrity, compartmentalization, low empathy. Low empathy. So I want you, as difficult as some of what you're going to hear might be, I want you to listen and pay attention and learn what's going on from your partner's perspective. And partners, obviously, this is going to help you. So Sandy, here's where I want to start. What is the difference between trauma and betrayal trauma? Is there a difference between those two words? Tell me more about that.
Absolutely. There's differences and there's similarities. So I'm going to start with the similarity, if that's okay. So we tend to know fear-based trauma. And that's trauma is described as a deeply disturbing or devastating occurrence that generally results in an emotional or visceral shock. Untreated or unresolved traumatic experiences can continue to persist and can lead to short and long-term mental health issues. And as we know from trauma, we can develop post-traumatic stress disorder, okay? In contrast, so betrayal trauma is very similar to fear-based trauma, as I just said. But the contrast, the difference is betrayal trauma ensues when a person we rely upon for our very existence and/or are substantially connected to and committed to violates our trust in a serious manner.
And, you know, one of the things I say when I talk to guys, Sandy, is because I'm trying to help them understand the impact of their behavior, because
yes.
You know, there's a natural defense mechanism. Why
Absolutely.
can't you move on? Why do you keep talking about it? Why you keep asking me questions? And what I want you guys to understand is, so your partner goes to bed one night thinking 2 + 2 is 4, thinking the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, and my partner's telling me the truth. Like, it is a fabric of her reality. And
it's a fabric of herself. Her cells, her soul. That trust is a fabric deep in the cells and the soul when you are committed and love someone so incredibly much.
And that has been bombed. That has been destroyed. That reality has been shattered. So, all right, we know that it's different and some similar to traditional trauma, but let's spend a few minutes. Let's just talk, what is betrayal trauma? Let's spend some time on that.
Okay, so betrayal trauma is classified as a type 1 trauma. And that is something which is unexpected and a discrete experience that overwhelms the individual's ability to cope with stress, fear, threat, and or horror of the event. So we may consider a car accident, a severe car accident, maybe a type 1 trauma. Betrayal trauma is also a type 1 trauma. And just like any trauma can lead to PTSD. Okay, so it overwhelms the individual's ability to cope with stress. There's fear. Is he going to leave me? Am I leaving him? There's threat. It's threat, physical threat. There's threat to the relationship. It's just a complete, when you said a bomb goes off inside, that's exactly what it is. It's a shattering of everything that the woman believed and felt.
And it's, guys, I know, why can't you move forward? Why do you keep asking questions about this? And I just want to stress again that literally that reality has been completely shattered. And, when you're driving down the street with your partner, let's say a week after Discovery Day, there's a woman on the side of the road and like you're looking straight ahead and you don't want to look, and that reaction and she blows a gasket, shuts down, explodes, has an acute reaction. That is a traumatic response. Am I right, Sandy?
Absolutely. And I'm going to continue that this betrayal trauma brings with it many fears. And the unexpected arrival of D-Day, we call the Discovery Day D-Day as partners. And so your clients may have heard their partner say D-Day. And it violates our trust in one or more ways. So there's, oh my goodness, was he with someone and do I have the potential or have I developed an STI, a sexually transmitted infection, because my partner, my husband, whatever, was with that another person, when the belief was they were purportedly faithful. Okay. The second is finding proof of a partner's porn and or sex addiction. So finding an email, finding sexting, finding private social media messages, pictures, videos, hotel receipts. These are all the fundamental, oh my God, crises, crash, trauma, explosion. The next is about sexual abuse. For example, when there is porn addiction, there actually can be sexual abuse with your intimate partner, in that manipulating the partner into having sexual relations that they may not actually like or want in the relationship, such as BDSM, but do it because they feel manipulated, or if they don't do it, their husband or partner is going to be mad. Maybe this also includes taking pictures or videos of them without their full consent. And full consent means there's no coercion. Okay? No coercion, no manipulation.
Yeah, posting it online. I've had clients.
Yes, posting it online. Yes. Sharing it with online lovers. Yeah. Those kinds of things. Okay? So intimacy abuse is a component of this. And I want to be clear, this isn't about blame and shame. Okay? This is not blame and shaming the men who have porn and sex addiction. This is about learning and education, the devastating component of betrayal trauma. And
Sandy, let me jump in real quick, because I just want to add something that you said. And lately I've been having conversation with a number of clients, and it is my wife. I do understand that. I've heard her. She doesn't believe me that I understand. She doesn't know. And here the guy's still getting defensive, still not supporting her, even when that reaction is unrealistic, it being a traumatic response. And we talked about a very sensitive word. We talked about abuse.
Yes.
And when I say that to men, and when I applied that word to me, there's an instant that I'm not that guy.
Right.
And there's such a reluctance to accepting that label. And I've had a number of clients recently, and I know you're listening, brothers, and congratulations. You're doing the work. And their wife was sharing a pain, sharing a memory, sharing a flashback, sharing how she's feeling. And this client followed my advice and acknowledged that. Here's what he said in response. You know something? You're right. And in fact, I've thought about my behavior. I've reflected on the abuse, the lies, the manipulation, the sneaking around, the tricking, the gaslighting, and I've come to the conclusion that I was abusive.
Yes.
And as he waited for the wrath to come, she went, what, excuse me? What, oh. And
he owned it.
It shifted the dynamic in such a significant way. And I'm glad you said, Sandy, we're not blaming. We're using strong language. For my brothers here, listen, I want my sisters out there to have this information, to get some semblance of what they're going through. But for you brothers, I want you to appreciate the impact and the gravity of your choices because someone has been hurt. Thank you. Please continue, Sandy.
So I'll continue then with intimacy abuse, because maybe some of the brothers, some of the, your clients, the men, and if I may call them brothers as well, just because I am part of the mindful habit and I believe in healing. And if they're here to recover, to heal, I congratulate them and I pat them on the back for taking the courage and its bravery to work through this hard work. So I'm going to go back because many of the men may think, well, it was pornography. It was pornography and I didn't act out with any other person. So it's not infidelity. So there's no betrayal. It is betrayal. And how it's betrayal, it's in an intimacy abuse. Because quite often with watching pornography, you're having sexual relations, the men are having sexual relations with themselves while viewing pornography, so masturbation, and or having sexual relations with other people, all the while withdrawing from the person who's most important in their life in an emotional, connected way, and not having sexual intimacy with that one's partner.
And what is the partner thinking, right? Like, what did I do wrong?
Why aren't I not enough? Why aren't I sexy enough? Why aren't I beautiful enough? Why aren't I, am I too fat? Am I, too thin? And the partner takes it in and their self-worth depletes and depletes, because she desires you. Men, she desires you. She is with you and she wants you. She wants you in a connected, emotional, safe way. And sometimes the sexual intimacy maybe not has stopped, might have slowed down or might not have. But the partner feels that it's robotic. There's no emotional connection. There's no vulnerability. They are there doing the act simply for the fact to get off. And that she is a thing.
Yeah, well, it's literally a hole, right? Because, and as disturbing as that may sound.
What orifice can we use?
Yeah. And well, even absent that intentionality, the guy's head is in the pillow. He can't orgasm because he's been, beating himself senseless for the past 48 hours.
Right.
And he's watching things that are really, really inconsistent with the sexual expression that he wants to bring into the world. And he's not present. And you guys know, your partners, right? They can feel it. They know it. They know it. I think he's lying to me, acted out. They know it. They can feel it. And the reason for that too, Sandy, is I find that my, I was going to sugarcoat it. I find that my partner clients have a significantly higher EQ, emotional intelligence, than the men.
Yes.
Almost across the board.
Right.
Guys, listen, and that doesn't mean that your partner doesn't have her own growth opportunities, doesn't mean she doesn't have, isn't things she could be doing better, but on a, scoring that EQ, the chances are that, in my experience, universally, that it's significantly higher, brothers. So anyway, just thought I'd let you know that.
Well, and that could be from their own, not the women's, from the men's own trauma from their childhood or teen years or whatever the case may be. But their emotional intelligence was stilted and stuck in either that trauma or when the porn addiction started. And as we all know that it starts with porn addiction before it goes to sex addiction, most often. I just want to, if we can, there's more descriptions, if we will, for what betrayal trauma is. So it shares the same physiological, psychological, and neurological symptoms as fear-based trauma. So very similar as if you witnessed, a shooting or were involved in a shooting, something like that. There's two ways in which it's vitally different, okay? The perpetrator has a close bond with the victim. That's number one. So a deeply personalized desecration of trust pursues. Because the betrayal is of a profoundly personalized nature, betrayal trauma can be much more threatening and disrupting to a person's ability to make sense of their world than in a strictly fear-based trauma. Betrayal trauma, however, threatens the safety and security of the very relationship a person would generally rely on for solace when distraught. Now they can't go to him, he's not safe any longer, thus producing tremendous vulnerability just when the person is in the most enormous need. Okay?
Yeah.
The person they need the most is the person who has created the trauma. And the second is recidivism risk is high. So the trauma is high because, oh my God, will they do it again? And so due to the close connected nature of the relationship between the perpetrator and the victim, it can be very tough to challenge or dissolve ties with the perpetrator. Consequently, victims may feel confined and endure the relationship, believing that there is no way out. They feel stuck. They don't feel they can financially support themselves or themselves and their children. And this makes the possibility of recidivism, a future betrayal trauma, more likely with random or accidental traumas. What that means, recidivism of trauma. Okay, not necessarily that the men are going to act out again, but if there is a future trauma, the recidivism of the betrayal trauma may come bubbling back up. And that is the case, especially if a woman does not get help for healing.
That's right.
So, for example, in fear-based trauma, it is rare for a victim who has been assaulted by a stranger to be assaulted by the same perpetrator a second time. So they go through the trauma, they get help, they heal from that trauma. But a betrayed spouse, in contrast, usually shares a life, home, children, extended family, and finances with the perpetrator. These life ties make extrication infinitely more complex and prolonged, even if the victim chooses to divorce the perpetrator. Okay? So,
yeah, and guys, we're using language so you know who we're talking about, right? So we're taking the same language on the trauma side and bringing it here. Don't get hung up on those labels. Don't with perpetrator, victim. Everyone has an opportunity to grow and to change in incredibly powerful ways. We wouldn't be doing what we do if we don't. But as we were talking about how to present it, the language just didn't make sense because we were using different words. And so anyway, just wanted to put that out there to carry on.
And know that there's a difference between being a victim and being victimized. Okay? So the woman's work for her own healing is moving from the victim to surviving and thriving. Okay.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that she's not victimized by something else in the future, but she doesn't stay stuck in the victim role. It's not safe, it's not healthy, it's not growth producing to stay stuck in the victim role. And again, yes, these are strong words. It's using trauma related words. And I also want to clarify in my work with the women, it is not about convincing them to leave, because I am an ex-partner. My partner did not want to, he wanted that life. He did not want to recover. He wanted to be able to do what he wanted, when he wanted, with whomever he wanted. He told me he would stay married to me though, as long as he could do those things. And of course, I have to look after me, my own values, growth, and so on. And I said, no. I am here for the women to help grow them, to help strengthen them, to help them heal from the betrayal trauma, to help them be the strongest person so they can make decisions for themselves. But that is not whether to stay or to leave. That's nobody's decision but theirs or the couple's, right? And so that doesn't factor into my work with the victim, with the women. I don't want to call a victim, with the women.
And the reason, ladies and gentlemen, why it's called, our partner program is called the Partner Empowerment Group. Yes. And I wanted to start with a name, not the codependent group, not yes. the victim group, not the right. The betrayal trauma group. I wanted to frame, starting from the name itself, what its intention is, and that is to empower you, like Sandy said, to move beyond yes. victim, from survivor to thriver. Right? You got to come out of this better and stronger. That's the right. only way, right. whether it's with them or without them, better, right. stronger, more resilient.
Yes.
Yes. Keep
yes.
keep
okay.
going.
So there are many symptoms of betrayal trauma. Very similar, many of them are very similar to fear-based trauma. Okay, anxiety, depression, remaining in a state of hypervigilance, and men, you may know that to be in women. This may be you. Remaining in a state of hypervigilance is, I've got to check his phone. Got to know where he is. I've got to who is he talking to? Who's that woman over there? It's a state of hypervigilance. Know that it's all a trauma response, and it's normal. It's normal given the circumstances. There can be complete and utter feeling of overwhelm. There can be withdrawal and isolation. Now know that porn and sex addiction thrives in secrecy. And yet partners withdraw from friends and family who either do not know about the betrayal trauma, and it's out of loyalty to the partner, to the men, or out of shame, guilt, disgust, and or humiliation of telling her story. Most people who have not gone through this devastating trauma have absolutely no idea the depths of the pain it causes. And so men, when you say you understand, please stop saying you understand, because you don't. You can't. What you can do is say, I am here for you. What do you need? And she may need a hug, she may need to be held, or she may need you to leave her alone and give her some space for a little bit of time.
Sandy, I want to share with you one of my just powerful moments. So I remember after a therapy session, this is, close to D-Day, rock bottom, got fired, out of inpatient. And Michelle was helping me, picking me up off the ground so I could get back to providing so she could kick me out. And I said, every minute that I'm there, I'm going to do the best I possibly can. And I'll never forget this moment. She said to me, I was sharing with her, I realized, the impact of when I was touched and the impact that had on the belief systems and the evolution of my sexuality. And that trauma lives in you. It's so deep in me. It's so deep. And I got to learn how to manage it and counterbalance it and honor that part, because it just hurts so goddamn much. And Michelle looked at me and said, how do you think I feel?
Yeah.
And it was in that moment, well, I can't, walk in someone else's shoes. I can
No.
try. I can put them on and see if they fit. It was in that moment where I said, oh shit. And I appreciated the depth, because I know how I felt.
Yeah.
I know how I felt.
Mm-hmm.
Keep going. This is great stuff. Thank you, Sandy.
Okay. So more symptoms are difficulty concentrating or being able to focus, difficulty regulating intense emotions, avoidance of emotions and painful feelings, flashbacks. So flashbacks are daytime nightmares for anyone who doesn't know, and flashbacks can be any of the senses, something we smell, something we touch, something, that we feel, taste, etc. Nightmares, negative thoughts, most especially, why was I not enough? Numbness and detachment, sleep and appetite disturbances, and physical symptoms such as headaches, tremors, stomach aches, pains in the stomach, tightness in chest. So betrayal trauma is a deeply heart-shattering experience. Many symptoms happen suddenly after betrayal trauma, whereas additional symptoms may not show up for weeks or months, or for some years after D-Day. Because there's something that's found out a year past, and it brings it all crashing back down again. For instance, depression, grief responses, doubt, shame, and partaking in risk-taking behavior are usually delayed responses of betrayal trauma. When I say risk-taking behavior, there are some women who 6 months down the road, there's someone who's paying attention to another man who's paying attention to them, and they go, I wonder if he'll know what it feels like if I do this. And even have the thought of acting out on their own and taking a risk of having an affair or a one-night stand. And that's a betrayed reaction. I am a betrayal trauma reaction. I'm not making an excuse. It still becomes a choice, just like for men becomes choice. It can be a delayed reaction about revenge. Doesn't make it right. I'm just saying that can be a component of it. So what can we do? What can we do to heal?
Let's, guys, go back and rewind and listen to those symptoms again. And partners, not everything is going to apply to everybody, but what we're trying to do here is to say, you're not crazy. There's reasons why you see a commercial that all of a sudden, you're curled up in the fetal position and wondering why, is to give you some context. What's going on inside you, and drawing that parallel between traditional trauma and betrayal trauma for me has been very, very insightful. So listen, we talked earlier and started this conversation around this, staining the soul. Sandy, can you heal from betrayal trauma?
Absolutely. Just like any trauma, you can heal from betrayal trauma. The healing will be quicker and easier when the partner is on side. So if the man is there, the men are there for their partners to say, I am here for you. What do you need? And listen to what they say they need. And if they say, get the ass away from me, say, okay, I'll just go for a walk. Without your shame coming up, because your shame, I say yours because it is yours. That's your response. It's knowing that this is her response, her triggers. How can you help? Many studies show that if you can respond in a loving, supportive way, the trauma triggers eventually subside and subside quicker. The trauma healing gets better and more quickly than when there's love and support, versus you are shaming me, you are making me angry, and you're doing this to me on purpose.
You're rubbing my
That will,
nose in it. You're,
yes,
you're
yes,
bringing up the past. I thought you wanted to move forward, right? You hear
right,
that?
yes, yes.
I have to highlight this for you brothers. Is Sandy said a very important word. She said you need to listen. Listen. And what that means is, just so we're clear, when she lists 6 things that you did and one of them was wrong, you don't attack the one that was wrong in that moment. You listen, you acknowledge, you support, you literally, and guys, this is so important, because when I realized that my reaction was only making it worse. and I actually like tapped into that selfish part of me, that part that I don't like very much, just wants peace and quiet. When I started listening and literally, like, it was so hard because, first of all, I'm a talker. But when I just started listening and repeating back to Michelle what she was saying, so she knew that I heard it, the dynamic of the relationship changed dramatically. So practice listening. Literally try to go through one conversation, just acknowledging, supporting, affirming, and primarily listening, and you will see what a challenge that is. But do it, and I promise you, you're not going to make it worse at a minimum.
And there's a difference between hearing and listening. Because you may hear her say the first 4 things, and then the 5th one may be wrong, and you automatically go to your head and go, no, that's not right, that's not right. Then we stop listening. We're still hearing the blah, 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 but we stop listening, that we have no idea what she's saying, because we're in our head to do a response. We just are calculating our own response. I call it the yeah buts. Yeah, but I didn't do that. You said that and I didn't do that. Forget it. Is it really important? If the other 4 things she said were spot on and she's telling you how she is feeling, the response can be, what do you need from me right now? How can I help you? I am so sorry that I put us in this situation. How can I help you?
Yeah. And you know,
quiet, calm.
And guys, like, let's, no one is saying to, lie about something that you didn't do just to shut her up. What I'm saying is, if there are, 5 things that she, rattles off that you did, and that 4 were right and the 5th one was wrong, you put that in your back pocket, and when the time is right, later on in the day or the next day, you say, honey, it's really important for me to be honest and transparent. And yesterday, when you said those 5 things, that last thing, that wasn't what I meant, or that wasn't how it was. I want you to know that, but it really wasn't important in the big picture. And if you have any questions about it, I'm happy to answer them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Open, honest. Have your heart open, that her pain is not to cause you pain. She is not, she's not trying to bring up shame or to shame you or to blame you. She's telling you how she is in pain and how can you help her. And that's the best thing. And women, one of the things I work with is this: ask for what you want. Be specific of what you need. I need you to leave me alone right now. I just need to go have a bath. You look after the kids. I'm going to go soak in the tub, or I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to do whatever. It's whatever the self-care component is. And that's what leads us to, how can you heal from betrayal trauma? It's self-care, self-care, self-care. And that's prioritizing self. And that's not being narcissistic or self-centered or selfish. It is a necessity. It is a necessity to treat yourself with love and compassion in a healthy way. For men, porn and sex addiction is not healthy. It's unhealthy. It is ruined the dichotomy of your relationship. It has of who you are as a person. You're not that guy. Be the guy you want to be. And she's working to be the woman she wants to be. And the healthy.
Thank you. Ladies, It's time to be good selfish. It's time
Yes.
for you to put yourself first. And you know this, Sandy. Some partners tell us that there's, what do you mean put myself first? Like, it is so foreign to them. It's been him, it's been the kids, it's been the community, it's been the church, it's been everything else but you.
Yes.
And that self-care rooted in a belief system that you deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
That you are worthy of that self-care because you're special.
You are.
And that is the foundation of any progress in healing from betrayal trauma.
Absolutely.
Self-care.
And many people go, well, what is self-care? Self-care is anything that is healthy for you, that grows you, that fills you up, fills your soul. So for me, one of those things is baking. I love to bake. I very little of what I bake. I usually give them to my neighbors and so on. But I love to bake. It's just, there's something about it, the creativity of it. There's something that I just love. So it can be something healthy, walking, hiking, playing volleyball, playing basketball, baseball, watching a comedy. It can be just zoning out and watching a comedy. If you like comedy, it's whatever works for you. It can be reading, music, dancing, running, whatever works for you. Maybe it's taking a road trip.
First.
Yeah.
And this is this is a commercial. Okay, I just want to be honest when I'm saying self-serving things. Okay, this is a self-serving statement, and it is my truth. Ladies, you have heard the symptoms of betrayal trauma, the impact of betrayal trauma. In another podcast, we're going to talk about the brain around betrayal trauma.
And around the triggers.
Around the triggers. And there is a belief system in this space that we hear and we've heard over the years, not my problem, you fix you, I don't need any help. And I implore you, whether it's with me and Sandy in our partner empowerment group, whether it is with your local therapist, whether it is with your a group or whatever it is, if you want to move forward quicker and dramatically increase the chances that you are going to be living a purpose-driven life where you love yourself and you feel good about yourself, getting help is critical.
It is mandatory.
It's
mandatory.
I agree.
If you don't, and like Craig said, I am a qualified clinical counseling supervisor, and I recommend, I have 55 people under me, that I supervise right now. And I recommend to every of those interns or new therapists or regular, registered psychotherapists, that every single one of them has, I can't make it mandatory for them, that they have to choose, but I strongly recommend that every single one has their own therapist. And the reason is, shit happens in life. And even if it's for maintenance, but when you've gone through trauma and when you're going through trauma, seek out a trauma specialist, seek out a therapist, and a certified coach of the mindful habit for when it's porn and sex addiction, because this is the, the people that know about what you're going through. That's the importance, because if they don't know about porn and sex addiction, they may not help you very well.
Well,
if they don't know about betrayal trauma.
They don't know, they haven't experienced it. Now, listen, does that mean that there aren't therapists who haven't experienced something in their life, aren't incredibly gifted? Of course there are. But what, because I've had my experience, Sandy's had hers, that enhances a very important part of that coaching relationship, and is called the therapeutic alliance. And that's a concept you can apply to sports, therapy, coaching, executive coaching, professional coaching. And what that means is that connection that you have to the person who's leading you on your journey has the single most highest predictor of results.
Yes.
And when you're talking to someone like Sandy, who has her own experience, who worked with hundreds, thousands of women who've been through this before, that lowers the walls, enhances that connection, and drives results quicker.
Right. Absolutely.
So important. Mandatory.
When you said the therapeutic alliance, Craig, it's so important, and it actually is the second most important component of a client's success is the therapeutic alliance. The first is the client's readiness. If you're not ready.
Oh, good point. Yeah. Good point. You're right.
We can't help anyone if they are not ready. Okay, if they're not ready and are resisting assistance, resisting guiding, coaching, if they're resisting, you're not ready. Until you are ready, that you want to do the work, and it's hard work. You want to do the work. You want to change. You want to heal. You want to be in this better place in your life. We're here to help you.
And if you are in that place where it is time for you to take action, visit themindfulhabit.com. Check out our partner empowerment group, where you will be working with Sandy, you'll be working with me, and you'll be working with my wife, Michelle, who joins me on one of the partner calls that we do. Sandy, how do people get in touch with you?
Sandy at sandrajoy.ca is my email, but they can, if they join the partner empowerment group, then I'm on, the forum, and they can message me through there as well. So my email though is sandy at sandrajoy.ca. I'm in Canada. And my website is sandrajoy.ca, and or through the Mindful Habit.
Yeah, do it. We don't care how you find us. Whatever you got to do. But if you are ready to take action, please do so. If you find yourself, I can't move forward. The day 50 feels like day one. That means there's an opportunity for you. So, Sandy, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. It's, again, like I said, it's been an honor and a privilege.
True joy to be working with Sandy, folks. It just strengthens the program. I'm just so blessed to have Sandy in my life, and to have someone as qualified as she is on the team, and a great friend. So I want to thank you all for listening. We're going to have Sandy back. If you have any ideas or questions for podcasts, shoot us an email, support@mindfulhabit.com, or email Sandy. And we'll see you next time. Embrace your power of choice and feed the right wolf inside you. See you later, everybody.
Bye-bye.